Let's begin by coming to a comfortable seat on your mat. Sitting with the legs crossed. And then having crossed your legs, immediately change to the opposite side, which is most likely the less familiar side. Notice if your groins are relaxed or if they're pulling up. Spine lifting from the base, moving in and up. Lower back ribs move in slightly. Navel moves in from the front, lower back ribs move in from the back. And as you do this, lifting all four corners of the floating ribs and become taller in this torso region, in the midriff region. Shoulders back and down. And notice again if the groins are relaxed or if the knees have popped up. Soften in the groins, soften in the lower abdomen. And be lively in the back body. Bring the palms together in Atmanjali Mudra, thumbs to the heart center. We haven't chanted the invocation together for a long time. I thought we might like to do this today, especially since you're all muted. You don't have to remember it, but you can chant along at home. We'll start with 3 ohms, taking an exhalation breath and then inhaling. Yogena chitasya padena vacham malam sharirasya javaijakena yopa karutam pravaram muninam patanjalim pranjaliranatosmi abahu purushakaram shankachakrasidarinam Sahasra Shirsam Setam Pranamami Patanjalim Hari Om. Bowing your head to your heart, maintain the lift of the heart and meeting the gaze with the heart self, the Atman. Taking a moment to connect with our lineage of yoga, and what a privilege, what a gift it is to be able to practice and to be able to practice together. Connecting with gratitude in this, and then lower your hands, raise your head. So I attended a workshop a few days ago, put on by a lovely woman, a friend of mine who's a teacher, a Iyengar yoga teacher in LA. I met her in Pune at the Institute one year, and she did this workshop on the Vayus, the winds of the body. And I'm going to, she learned it from another teacher who hosted it in a 3-day workshop. Another lovely teacher who I like a lot. An Indian teacher, and then Birju. And then she conveyed to us what she could in 2 hours. And I'm going to convey to you what I can with the time we have together today in a variation. So the Vayus are the winds that exist in the body. And we have the Apana Vayu in the lower belly. So from, say from the navel down, Apana Vayu, we're just going to divide it up this way for our understanding. From the navel to the sternum, Samana Vayu. From the sternum to the collarbones, Prana Vayu. Throat region, Udana Vayu. And then Viyana Vayu is the wind that represents all of these when they are in harmony together and flowing together. And something she spoke about was that part of what made Guruji Iyengar's poses so beautiful was that he had all of his Vayus engaged in balance. And that's part of what we see, not just the muscle and bone. So going from beyond the Annamaya Kosha, the more outer layer, to the Pranamaya Kosha, and the Vayus are found in the Pranamaya Kosha layer. And so that was really an insightful, I thought, that how part of what was so beautiful about his poses when we would see pictures of them was that beautiful balance of the Vayus. So now come to standing in Tadasana. Feet together. And as you come into Tadasana, descend the tailbone. As you descend the tailbone, you feel the pubic bone lift and the organs of the lower abdomen draw back as we do this. So find out if that's true. Just relax for a moment, let everything go. Now descend your tailbone, lift from the pubic bone, and you notice how this area recedes somewhat. So this is the Apana Vayu region, and it's connected to the legs. The Apana Vayu region is primarily about elimination and extending out through the limbs, through the lower limbs, just the legs. Okay. It's important that these organs move back slightly to accommodate this. And so then this is somewhat relates to the earth element. As we draw the navel, as we lift from the pubic plate to the navel, we descend into the legs, into the earth to find that mountain pose, grounding firmly into the earth element as we do this. We could say the earth element is associated with the Apana Vayu, if we wanted to. Arms extended, spreading the palms, spreading the fingers, and at the same time, draw the arms up into the sockets, pin the shoulders back. And now let's do Adho Mukha Svanasana with this region in mind. I'm going to build it the way she did. I'm bringing in the elements a little bit more along the way as well. So as we come into Adho Mukha Svanasana, come onto your hands and knees or however you want to come into the pose. And push up into your Adho Mukha Svanasana. Now, one thing is if the feet are too close to the hands, we shrink in that Apana Vayu region. It becomes short, right? We walk the feet in too close and the pubic bone starts to move toward the navel and that region shortens too much as we do that. So we have to walk the feet back, get length in that region, and then bend the knees. And as you bend the knees, there's a gentle moving in and up from the pubic bone toward the navel. And then as you straighten the legs, lift the sit bones toward the ceiling. So you feel the organs of the lesser pelvis moving in. They're not hanging out, they're not pushing out, they're drawing in toward the spine as we do this. And the groins are soft. We move the front groins to the back groins. And then walk in for Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Take bricks if you need them, to do a forward facing Uttanasana to begin with. So I'm just coming onto my fingertips. If you're not able to get the concave spine this way, put the yoga bricks under your hands so that you'll come up a little higher. You want to begin by creating space. By coming up higher, we're able to create the space here, okay? Now, as we come up, we have more space in this region between the pubic bone and the navel. Keep the sit bones sharp, lifting them up toward the ceiling, thighs spinning in, and then lengthen from the pubic bone to the navel. As you do this, do you feel feel this area move inward? It sucks in somewhat, or becomes deflated, was a term that Christine used. It deflates, it's not puffing out. Okay, so it's moving in, and then can you maintain this as you bring your hands down to the mat? Now, if that's your final pose, that's fine, stay there. If you're able to bring your hands down to the mat, can you maintain that moving in action? And we need this area to move in order to deepen the forward bend. Otherwise, if our belly's all pushed out, we will not be able to come forward. See if you can walk your hands back to the outside of your feet now. Those of you who are able to come that far into the pose. Now coming closer to your full pose, but maintaining this as you go, this awareness in the lower abdomen. Still driving down through the heels, legs are firm. Knees pulling up toward the hip creases. And then from the pubic bone to the navel to the sternum, exhale, lengthen forward. And now walk your hands forward again and come back to Adho Mukha Svanasana. Downward dog pose. Still with awareness to this region, and we need the action of the legs in this pose, right? It's this earth element in the legs. The hitting back of the thigh bones is so key to creating the spaciousness in this region. So then moving up to the Samana Vayu, adding this, from the lower back ribs, the floating ribs move in. Look forward as you do this. Look forward and move in. And then a little navel to the spine. So you're still doing that action of deflating the lower abdomen. And from the lower back ribs, move in as you look forward. And then push back with the palms, hit the thigh bones back, and move your weight more and more into the legs. Now from the lower back ribs, lift toward the top of the sternum. This would be the element of light in the Samana region, also known as fire. Now feel the lightness created in the rib cage as you do that action. And now walk back to Uttanasana. Starting with the concave back again. Begin by getting that spaciousness at the Udana level, from the pubic bone to the navel. And then from the lower back ribs, move in and toward the collarbones. And this should create a spaciousness in that region, in the midriff region. Maintain this as you, either you stay here, this is your final pose, or if you can walk your hands back, drive the heels down into the mat, swing the hips forward slightly, look forward with your hands beside your feet, if you're able to come to this point, and then lengthen, get that movement of sucking that lower belly in, and then the lower back ribs also move in and lift toward the collarbones and then fold.
So that when we move the lower back ribs in, we start to lose the hump in the back body. Let the back of your neck be long. And then look forward, swing your arms back and come up to standing. Now this Samana region is an area that shrinks on us with time. We become shorter in this region and heavier in our bodies. It seems to go together. We get heavier and shrink in this region. So there is this element of light in here that we can use to lift all four corners of the floating ribs. Now, coming back to Tadasana, actually you can keep your feet a little bit apart, hip width apart. You can still get that action of this Apana Vayu, driving down through the legs, and then the moving in from the pubic bone up to the navel. Now to further engage this Samana region, this light region, inhale the arms up. And as you do this, reach up and feel all four corners of the floating ribs lift. You're creating height in this region. It's like there's a ball of light in the Samana Vayu region that lifts us, uplifts us. Maintain that height as you exhale the arms down. Now the arms, which I've often referred to as a prana pump, are connected to this prana region. Very particularly to the prana region, like the legs are connected to the Apana region, the arms are connected to the prana region. Now, as you bring the arms up again, we're going to be aware of all of the Vayus that we've been bringing in so far. The Apana Vayu descending through the legs, also moving the lower abdomen inward. The Samana Vayu, getting the lift in the torso, finding that height in our spine again, in our midriff. And then the Prana Vayu is going to fill us with prana. Okay, let's go. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. And there's really nothing you can do about it. When you take the arms up, the prana just flows in. It's a natural occurrence. Reach up through the arms, lift all four corners of the floating ribs, and watch now for that tendency to push the hips forward. We need to engage the Apana Vayu by drawing that region back. So we have to deflate that lower abdomen, become tall in the Samana region, and broad in the prana region. As you reach up higher and higher through the arms, then we bring more and more prana in. Drive down through the feet, reach up through the arms. And maintain this height as you exhale the arms down. And certainly Gita would talk about how Mr. Iyengar taught prana in asana, but they would always say, we're not telling you most of the time, breathe in, breathe out. We're teaching it to you in the asana, in the poses. Let's go back to Adho Mukha Svanasana with prana. And actually, come on back up to standing. Let's get some advantage as we do it this time by starting with the arms up. In Urdhva Hastasana, we know we can feel the breadth across the collarbones, the breadth in the rib cage. Can we maintain this as we exhale forward and step back into Adho Mukha Svanasana? Push into the palms, hit the heads of the thigh bones back. And so we've done this pose many times before. You don't need me to give you all of the physical instructions for it. You do those physical actions that you need for your pose, and then bring your awareness, your focus to the Vayus. Observing in the Apanavayu area is that region lengthening and moving in. Is it deflating from the pubic bone to the navel? Is the Samanavayu lengthening? So you want to move in from the lower back ribs and lift toward the top of the sternum. And then the Pranavayu. Now the Pranavayu in this area, we want to get more openness in the chest. Let's come forward slightly and actually come down on your hands and knees and take your hands wider apart. And we took the hands wider apart in another class recently for a different reason. So now we're doing it to create openness across the sternum to bring in more prana. Feet remain hip width apart, hands are to the outer edge of the mat. Exhale, come up. And notice if that opened up the chest region for you. Now lift your heels up, lift them high. Then move the front groins toward the back groins, sharpening the sit bones toward the ceiling. As you move the front groins toward the back groins, move in from the lower ribs toward the top of the sternum, and then spread across the collarbones. Maintain this as you extend your heels down. And then walk in to Uttanasana. Come to the Uttanasana, feet hip width apart. Looking forward, come into the concave back, whether you're using the yoga bricks under the hands or fingertips on the floor. And we're going to take an inventory here. Again, starting with the Apanavayu, dynamic in the legs, and then deflating that area from the pubic bone to the navel. Move the lower back ribs toward the top of the sternum and spread across the collarbones. Now, if you take the shoulder blades in, the collarbones will spread more. Maintain this as you walk your hands back and keep the hands wide, whichever way you're in. Elbows bending out to the side if you're able to bend your elbows. To keep space for the pranic body. Throat is soft. Okay, the area of the Udana the throat region, is soft. The back of the neck is long. And as you make your adjustments in this pose, do it from the Vayus. Which means you would move in from the pubic bone toward the navel, move in from the lower back ribs toward the top of the sternum, and spread across the collarbones. And then come all the way into your pose. And observe how it feels to be in this pose when your focus is on the Vayus. How does it change the pose from when we do the pose from the muscle and bones? And then look forward.
Take the hands back, pin the shoulders back, come all the way up. And come back to Tadasana. And then the Udana Vayu is also considered a spiritual gateway in this region that this is the area where we learn our first bandha, the Jalandhara bandha. And that even in that bandha, we need to keep a certain softness here. And this area is the top of a container. And when we go beyond this region, we get into very, very sensitive metaphysical material, the third eye, the 1,000-petaled lotus, which are very sensitive instruments. So we moderate and modify from this Udana Vayu. Let's do Badanguliasana. Let's say it right now. You can have your feet hip width apart, clasp your hands, turn the palms out. Inhale the arms up. Reach up very high out of the armpit chest. Allow your shoulders to come up as you do, and drive down through the heels. Maintain that earth element. See that the lower abdomen doesn't puff out. Deflate the lower abdomen. Lift from the lower back ribs. And now take your head back. Mouth is closed. Eyes are soft. Then look forward, lower your arms to change the interlace. Push out through the palms, and we'll do this again. Reach up. Lift up from the base of the thumb, the base of the index finger. Deflate the lower abdomen and lift from the lower back ribs. Exhale, take your head back. Eyes soft. And then look forward. Exhale the arms down. Let's do a couple of standing poses here. Again, still working with these Vayus. And these Vayus are really centered in the region of the chakras as well. So that there's a relationship between these Vayus and the chakras. The Apana Vayu being earthy, Samana having the element of light, the Prana Vayu having the element of air, Prana, and the Udana Vayu being ether, more subtle energy. The Samana can also be watery, so they're not necessarily specifically one element per Vayu region, because we also have the organic body in this region, all the organs that exist in this region, the liver, the pancreas, the spleen, the larger and small intestines, the kidneys are also all in this region. And that's a very watery area. So we have both the water element and then the light element. I think of the light element as just sitting on top of that region so that it lifts what is from the ribs up, and it's part of that division between the if we were to look at it anatomically, between the abdominal cavity and the thoracic cavity. And then we get that light that lifts the
rib cage off of that area. Okay, so come to Tadasana. Feet together. Cut the outer calves, outer hips in. And we'll begin with an Urdhva Hastasana. Drive down through the heels as you reach up, get that prana coming in. And then with an exhale, bend your knees and jump your feet 4 feet apart. It's okay to step 2 if you need to. Now from here, we can feel how, just lower your arms for a minute, how the Apana is pulling the pelvis down with the legs, right? So the tailbone sticks out a little bit more and this area starts to come forward a bit. So we have to be active in descending the tailbone and lifting the pubic toward the navel, not hardening in here, but drawing it back. Is that separating of the legs pulls it down in that Apana direction. So we want to lift it back up more. And then separating the arms, lifting from the inner elbows, shoulders descending. Turn your right leg out, left foot in, hips toward the long end of your mat. Exhale into Utthita Trikonasana. Now here in the pose, legs still firmly in the earth element. And you soften the lower abdomen, that area between the pubic bone and the navel, and deflate it, draw it back slightly. And then from the lower ribs, from the floating ribs, lift toward the collarbones. Take it and notice how that draws the prana in. As you lift from the floating ribs toward the collarbones, and then spreading the arms apart for the prana level, for the air. Now lengthen the back of your neck, soften your throat, and if you can, turn to look beyond your raised arm. But if that's uncomfortable for your neck, keep your gaze forward. Align the back of your head with your sacrum. Be here for a few breaths. Observe how the pose feels when we focus on it in this way. When we focus on the Vayus. And then reach up with your raised arm, push into the back foot. We'll go to the second side. Left leg out, right foot in. From here, we adjust again, descending the tailbone, lifting from the pubic bone, drawing this area back, and then turning away from that leg. Exhale into Utthita Trikonasana to your left. And now adjust from the Vayus, as you did on the other side. And how does it feel when you adjust from the Vayus versus adjusting from muscle and bone? From the pubic plate to the navel, draw in. From the floating ribs, front and back, lift toward the collarbones. And as you reach up through the raised arm, spread the collarbones. Make the back of your neck long, and you can turn and look up. And if you can feel the lightness in the solar plexus region, then there's no weight bearing down on the lower arm. That yoga brick is merely a spacer. Push into the back foot, inhale, come up. Turn your feet parallel. And on an inhale, come to Tadasana. We'll do Virabhadrasana 2 next. You won't need the bricks for this next one. You can just put them aside. So inhale the arms up. And then exhaling, jump your feet 4 feet apart. You may step your feet apart too as needed. Right away, adjusting for how the Apana Vayu pulls the pelvic region down. And then from the pubic plate to the navel, lift up and back. Right leg out 90 degrees, left foot in. Now here, you're going to open the sternum. Open the gates of the sternum, right to the right, left to the left. Right side of the sternum goes to the right arm, left side of the sternum goes to the left arm. Right eye goes to the right thumb, left eye goes to the left thumb. Maintain that breath. As you exhale and bend your front knee, making a square, just your distance is needed. Descend the shoulder blades and lift from the inner elbows. Find the light in the solar plexus region to create lightness in this pose. Turn and gaze beyond your right hand. Take both arms back slightly to spread the collarbones and open up the pranic body even more. And then push into the back foot to come up. Turn your feet parallel. Left leg out, right foot in. Maintain that openness if you need to renew it. Opening the gates of the sternum, right side to the right arm, left to the left. Right eye to the right thumb, left eye to the left. Don't bring the hands forward to be able to see your thumbs. Instead, take them further away. Broaden your horizon line even more. Broaden across the sternum. Exhale, bend the front knee. See that the Apana Vayu remains deflated, drawing inward. And then from the floating ribs, climb up. Find the lightness of the solar plexus region in the Samana Vayu. Exhale, turn and gaze beyond your left hand. Push into the back foot, inhale, come up. Turn your feet parallel. And on an inhale, step or jump to Tadasana. Let's be here in Tadasana for a moment. Finding that steadiness of the mountain. And standing in stillness in the Vayus. Can you feel the energy of the Vayus, the winds moving through you? And now we'll do Virabhadrasana 1. And take your brick for your back foot. I'm just going to put both my bricks down on the low side. Inhale, Urdhva Hastasana. We're doing this at the beginning of the standing poses to really bring the prana in. Drive down through the heels, connect to the earth element, bend the knees, inhale, 4 feet apart. Now palms up, arms up, but hang on, come back here. So we've got this breath in Virabhadrasana 2. Turn your palms up. Now, when we come into Virabhadrasana 1, it's a little bit more vertical than horizontal, like Virabhadrasana 2 is more horizontal than vertical. Can we maintain that breath, that horizontal breath in the pranic body of the chest box as we inhale the arms up? Take the arms farther behind, get them back behind your ears to maintain the openness of the chest. Then turn your right leg out 90 degrees, turn the back leg all the way in, bring your heel onto the brick. Go on reaching up through the arms. And now from the Samana Vayu level, envision this ball of light that lifts all 4 corners of the floating ribs upward. Maintain that vertical lift as you exhale and bend the front knee. Scoot the tailbone in as you bend your knee and sit into the pulse. Drive into the back heel, be in the earth element of the legs, and then from the pubic bone to the navel, is this area puffing out or is it deflating? Can you draw it in? Inhale, puff up the chest, get the arms back behind the ears. And if you have the balance, you can look up. And pushing into the back foot, inhale all the way up. Turn your feet parallel. Bring your hands down for a moment, just to give a rest. It only takes a moment to recover. And now let's bring the arms up again, palms up, arms up. Get them well back behind the ears. Notice how that opens up the chest even more. Left leg out, right leg all the way in. Get the right heel up on the brick. And then from the Samana Vayu, lift up. From the Apana Vayu, from the pubic bone to the navel, move in. Deflate this region, maintain that. As you exhale, bend your knee. And if you have the balance, you can take your head back. Opening up the Udana Vayu. Push into the back foot to come up. Turn your feet parallel. Bring your arms down and come back to Tadasana. Nice. Can you feel that pranic energy moving through you now? Okay, let's do Parsvottanasana using the yoga bricks at the right end of your mat. Or it could be the front end of your mat. We're just going to step back in this pose. Okay. Now, starting from Uttanasana with a concave spine. We'll come back to this pose we did at the beginning of the practice. And we'll reconnect with all the Vayus here. Because there's no question when we do an easier pose, it's easier to bring our awareness to the region, although I'm sure you felt it very powerfully in the Vira 1, that it came forward quite strongly. But here, let's regain our Vayus. Let's reassess. Drive down through the heels, pull up through the thighs, and from the pubic bone to the navel, deflate this region. From the lower back ribs, move in toward the top of the sternum. Now, take the bricks a little wider apart. We don't always have to do this to get into the pranic vayu, but it can help us enter into this region. But feel that action, and then bring the bricks to step back. We want the bricks in line with the shoulders for stability. And keep the collarbones moving forward as you step your left foot back. Now I guess I'm mirroring. I'm going to step back this way. You may need to bring your bricks with you. And arms can be forward of the shoulders now. This will open up prana more. As long as that you're light in the pose. If you need the bricks for some weight bearing, bring them in line with your shoulders. Now here, spin the back thigh in. Lift the sit bones toward the ceiling and deflate that lower abdomen to create spaciousness there. This will allow you to turn a little bit more toward the front leg. Now, this may be your finishing point where you may be able to take the bricks to the lower side or take your hands to the mat. There's something for everyone. Okay, if you have your hands on the mat, you need to still be able to do these actions. Deflate the lower abdomen, move from the lower back ribs toward the top of the sternum. And can you start to bend your elbows, take your hands away, broaden across the collarbones, and fold forward. Now, be true to these actions, these vayus. So you move in from the lower back ribs. That will prevent the humping in the back. And if you can take your head all the way down, you can walk your hands back behind your front foot. Coming into your full pose, whatever stage that is. And finding the fullness of the vayus in whichever place you're working in this pose today. Shoulders away from the ears. As you soften the lower abdomen region, that area deflates and sucks inward, can you get a little bit more movement toward the front leg, revolving and lengthening toward that front leg? Okay, now whichever stage you're in, straighten your arms, look forward. You can have your hands on the bricks. And bending your front knees, step your back foot in. And we'll do the second side. Starting from the beginning, in this Ardha Uttanasana. Exhaling, step well back. Aligning heel to heel. You can bring the bricks back with you so they stay close to your shoulders for that alignment. And those who can, once you get the vayus moving in the correct direction, you can stay here or maybe take your hands to the mat. Don't be in a hurry. Spin that back thigh in and bring the outer corner of the back hip forward. So we don't want to forget about the physical elements of the pose. Even though it's not our focus today, we're mature students. We still want to do them. Bring these these actions in. And then deflating the lower abdomen, moving in from the lower ribs toward the top of the sternum. Exhaling, you can walk your hands back behind your feet and take your head down. If that's where you're going today. And then look forward straight to your arms. Bring your hands onto the bricks if you remove them. Bend your front knee and step your back leg in. And turning toward the long end of your mat, we'll do Upavista Konasana, taking the feet wide apart. Mr. Iyengar would say taking the feet 5 feet apart. I tried that once. I measured out 5 feet with tape. Couldn't do it. Okay, so now lifting the inner ankles, lifting the inner arches, lifting the inner thighs, hit the thigh bones back. So when you hit the thigh bones back, can you feel the spaciousness that already starts to come in the groin region? And then draw from the pubic bone toward the navel. This area has to become hollow. From the lower back ribs to the sternum, move forward. And maintain this as you continue through this pose. You can take the hands down to the mat, go ahead. Inhale and fill the collarbone region with your breath. Opening up the chest box. Even in this position, can you feel the gates of the sternum open? And this may be your final pose. You may be able to walk your hands back between your feet. Exhale, take the crown of your head down. Now here, lift the groins toward the sit bones. Exhale and gently move in from the pubic bone to the navel. Hollow that space. And lift the shoulders away from the ears. When we're able to practice in this way, do you feel how the alignment comes? And now walk your feet toward each other to come into Uttanasana. Bring the arms back, come all the way up. And if you're doing Shirshasana, you can do Shirshasana now. If you're not doing Shirshasana, you can do Prasarita Padottanasana again with wide legs. Or you can do an Adho Mukha Svanasana. You could come back to downward dog again if you feel like revisiting this pose at this point in your practice. you're doing Shirshasana, go ahead, come up into your pose.
Creating space for the Udana Vayu now, the throat, by lifting the shoulders away from the ears. And coming now our foundation is reversed, our Vayus are reversed. Lift the outer armpit chest, keeping the Prana Vayu, the chest box, open. And from the Samana Vayu, lift that light energy upward toward the pelvis. Spin the thighs in and extend the legs up toward the ceiling. So now we have to find the lightness all the way from the Samana Vayu to fire the legs. Lower abdomen still receding. And watch for the tendency now for that whole lower abdominal region to puff out, to draw the side walls of the torso back. Spin the thighs in and reach up through the legs. Everyone bringing awareness to each of the Vayus. Whichever pose you're doing, bring particular awareness to the Samana Vayu, that light body that creates spaciousness and lift. Virju Metta said it gives luster. And we could see that in Guruji. When you come out of your pose, come into Adho Mukha Virasana, child's pose. Virju Metta said that Samana Vayu gives luster to the body, and you could see that in Guruji's poses, even in his pictures, even in his 90s, his skin was luminous. It just was smooth and glowing. And his poses were so peaceful. Resting in this pose now. And come on up and let's do a couple of supported postures. I'm going to do a supported Setubandha, or what Father Joe calls a Bhishmasana Setubandha. And what makes it Bhishmasana-like is this brick that we put behind the shoulders. Okay. So I'm going to have a blanket for my head. You might want 2 blankets for your head, depending on the height you have there. And he would do it just with the brick and the bolster like this. I'm going to soften this a little bit. And it's also more likely to just stay in place when I fold a blanket over it. I put the folded edge toward the head end. Then I have a brick for my heels with my feet, and I'll belt my legs. So this again grounds the earth energy in the legs. Otherwise they start to fly away on us. And when we belt them, we don't have to work as hard to keep them in place.
And this serves the spine. It serves the Apana Vayu to do this, just to help soften this region and keep it soft. Belting the thighs. And then I push myself off. And when I do that, it catches the skin and pulls it down the back body, which is the direction we want it going in. Have enough height that you can do a bit of a Jalandhara Bandha. You have the heart center lifting toward the chin, the back of the neck is long. And so now we are containing the lower body region. The belt works very well. This Apana Vayu naturally recedes. The belt assists the legs in the earthy extension, and the prana element is wide open, and the throat is soft. We come into this Jalandhara Bandha like position, but the sides of the throat soften and recede back to accommodate it. And then from all four corners of the floating ribs, the movement is upward toward the pranic body. Pin the deltoids downward, turning the triceps toward the floor, biceps toward the ceiling. And even though the legs are belted, there's still some life. Extend out through the heels. Shooting that Apana Vayu energy into the legs. We're not intentional with this, that Apana Vayu can pull up on us and cause the front of the legs to shorten. The crease at the top of the thighs deepens as we start to fold forward in this region. We have to extend that Apana Vayu energy in the right direction. And turning your arms all the way out, palms up, take the back of the thumbs down, turning the wrists completely toward the ceiling, the anterior wrists, and then just let go. And here you're simply an observer, the witness of the flow of the Vayus. Are they working in harmony for you now? If they aren't, you'll feel struggle. You'll feel the need to be more physical in the pose. Some poses are more physical, but right now, this pose is a supported pose. We can feel a harmony in the Vayus here. And in this pose with the brick behind the chest, this really opens up the chest box, and it's very much about this prana body region of the thoracic body, the thoracic bowl. You may witness that your breath moves quite naturally into this region. And now preparing to come out of this pose, you'll bend your knees, place your feet to your right side or whichever side is easiest for you to roll out of. Take your other arm across your chest. Like if your legs go to the right, take your left arm across your chest and roll completely off. Rest there. And then push yourself up and come into Baddha Konasana, Supta Baddha Konasana. I'm demonstrating with a pranayama bolster under my knees. And then lying back on my larger bolster with a blanket for my head. Again, this blanket, just a gentle raising the forehead higher than the chin, keeping this throat region soft. And then our focus is going to be on this Samana Vayu region. So you can do with bolster under the legs, you can have 2 yoga bricks and belt the legs to keep the feet in close. You can choose how you wish to come into it. You're all aware of a number of different ways to set up this pose by now, so you choose the way you want to do it. I'll just give you a minute to get into the pose. And as you settle into your pose with an exhale, let go. This is a pose where you let gravity have you. See that the groins are soft. Whatever you're using for support is sufficient to allow the groins to stay soft. The bolster that you're resting on supports the thoracic diaphragm, but it's not puffing this region out. Again, this whole Udana region from the pubic bone to the navel recedes. And then the solar plexus region is soft, not puffing upward, not hard. So here all the gates to the Vayus are open. As they were in the previous pose. And now we're going to focus on the Samana Vayu, the area of the belly. And we're going to bring in the Apana Vayu in this as well. So we can feel all this area soft from the pubic crest to the edge of the ribs. The outer banks of the torso, like a peaceful lake. Now we're focusing on the water element in this. Observe the breath moving in the belly. Just be the witness to the gentle rise and fall of breath. Be aware of this watery region of your being. Calm, quiet lake. As we age, we start to dry out. We become thick in this region and dull in this region. With our yoga, we can remain vibrant in this area. Or lustrous, as Birju had said. Slow, soft, smooth inhalations. Slow, soft, smooth exhalations. Deepening your breath a little when you're ready. Quietly come into your Shavasana. You can do your Shavasana here. You can come off of your bolster. Stretch out your legs as you prefer. With an exhalation breath, let loose everywhere, let go. Relaxing the jaw by letting the teeth part, tongue receding in the lower palate, creating softness in the throat. Eyes receding deep into the sockets, softening all the fine muscles around the eyes. As you do this, the ears drop away. All the organs of perception folding inward. Become more aware of the inner lining of your skin, which is like a soft cloth. Deepening your breath now, bringing your awareness back to the surface. Gently moving fingers, toes, wrists, ankles, any way that feels good. When you're ready, draw on your knees, turn to your right side and rest there. And turning toward the floor, push yourself up to sitting. Come to a comfortable seat and we'll chant the Om one time together. Bring the hands together in Atmanjali Mudra, shoulders back, shoulder blades descending, spine ascending from the lower back ribs, move in and up toward the top of the sternum. Maintain this as you take an exhalation breath and inhaling. May the benefits of this practice be extended to others. Namaste.